The Thunder cap off an historic season with a title. The Pacers, they're left asking what if after Tyrese Haliburton suffers an apparent Achilles injury. Meanwhile, Kevin Durant's trade to Houston has Rockets fans asking, how did we get away with this? That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior writer for the Action Network, Matt Moore. Matt.
I miss basketball. When's the next game?
Alrighty.
I want more basketball.
Alright. So we got a while. But we have the silly season, and we have a lot to cover. I mean, it's already happening. We'll get to the Kevin Durant trade in a bit.
I miss men's professional basketball. Let me be very clear. I will watch the dub. The dub's great.
Haize will keep you in check on that. And from the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Haize. Haize.
What's going on, beautiful people? There was a game yesterday. Did anybody see that? Anybody see the game?
It was a good game, not as good as it could be, unfortunately, because of the Tyrese Haliburton injury, which we'll dig into in a moment, and the Pacers in general. But Matt, as the clock hit zero and that young Thunder team celebrated winning the title, what were you thinking as it relates to their journey finding completion here with an NBA title?
I've covered that team in a lot of different contexts. I've spent time in OKC. I know a lot of folks there. And for me, it was, they all worked together to try and create something great. And that team came so close so many times and looked like they had it so many times and have had just a lot of things, like the devastation of Kevin Durant leaving, right? The injuries before that, Game 6 Clay, which was just like a natural disaster. All of those things. And they've built this community, and they found in Oklahoma City a place that really does love professional basketball. They love the NBA, and they love that Thunder team. And for that team, for everyone that works so hard in that organization to all have contributed in their own way to this accomplishment, that was really satisfying. And I was just really happy for everyone, players, coaches, staff, executives, everybody to have gotten that moment last night.
It was great to watch. Like, just that, getting to that place, and when you look at how they've built this team organically and just doing the right and smart things over time, these players and what they've gone through as well, like players that still have, a lot of these guys are still barely scratching the surface of exactly what they can be in the NBA. But more importantly, the fans, those OKC Thunder fans, like almost immediately since the Thunder, since the Sonics moved to OKC and became the Thunder, like those fans have been engaged. It's been like a college-like atmosphere there for that entire time. And while they haven't like been there like 20, 30 years or anything like that, it's been a while. And so the fact that they've gotten to this place of supporting that team, seeing the different versions of that team, and now to reach this point of having a young team where it does feel like they can get there for a long time, it was really good to see that.
And after such a dominant regular season, it would have been so easy for particularly a young team to let that noise sort of invade the brain and not be able to respond to the adversity that the playoffs present. But time after time, whether it was in that Nuggets series or in the Pacers series, they kept responding to the adversity. And a lot of that is rooted in their leader, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the NBA's MVP, now Finals MVP. And Rylan Stiles of Locked On Thunder says it was well deserved despite Indiana's best effort at disrupting him.
Shai gets Finals MVP, and what a game. I mean, historically speaking, game sevens are a rock fight. They're played in the mud. This one, no different. So the efficiency numbers are horrendous for Shai, not even just by his standards, just in general. He shot 29% from the floor. He shot 16% from three. Some of that was Shai reverting back to what we talked about in the Denver series, where you're hunting for the kill shot a little bit too much. But some of that was just the nature of a Game 7 where it's more physical and you are having to go up against, of course, a desperate, urgent defense that was playing great for Indiana. But all in all, this was a great game from Shai. 29 points, 12 assists. The ways that he was not only getting to his spot despite the best effort from Indiana to keep him from the elbow, keep him from that baseline jumper, keep him out of the paint. Indiana did everything right. It just didn't matter because Shai is simply better. Because Shai is simply that guy.
Scoring title, NBA MVP, conference final MVP, and now finals MVP. Haize, did we just witness the punctuation mark on one of the top 5 individual seasons in NBA history?
Yeah, I believe so. I think it has to be by default when you look at everything that he was able to accomplish while his team also had amazing success beating teams by a historic point differential. Like, there's a lot that went into this season, and I don't care nothing about the free throw merchant conversation or anything like that. Shai went out there and he played, and he played a lot of different roles for that team as well. Like, when they had no bigs at times, like, he played really well for that team. So I got to give it up to Shai. Shai, this is one of the best seasons that I think we're ever going to see, period.
Yeah. Look, Shai's amazing. Okay, I wrote 5,000 words on why the guy was MVP. He was absolutely incredible. I can tell you in detail all these types of things. Why the Thunder win? They won because of the defense. Okay, what is impressive is that Shai had the highest usage rate of any NBA champion ever. He just slipped past Jordan at 34.8 to 34.7. You should not be able to be that ball dominant and win a title. It's been a trend. We just haven't seen that. And Shai was able to do it. But if you're like, so why? Was he more efficient than everybody else? No. Like, is this Steph Curry 2016? No. Is this LeBron James 2009 when he didn't even win a title? No. Is this LeBron James in any of his prime championship seasons? No. Okay. Is this Magic Johnson? No. Right? On and on and on. We can go down it. The list of accomplishments is incredible, and they're all deserved, but I don't know that anyone feels like this is one of the greatest individual seasons that we've ever had. But what I will say is, like, it was great in the ways that are harder to really appreciate, because you have to appreciate consistency and efficiency. And those are boring terms. Like, we talk about it in terms of like the convenience store performance, but those are so important. He took nothing away from this Thunder team. Sam Presti, I thought last night with SVP, said it very well, which is like, he's able to be great while still making room and taking nothing away from his teammates. And that to me is like really impressive and awesome. But I'm not going to remember this as Steph 2016. I'm not going to remember this as LeBron 2012. I'm not going to remember this Kobe 2006. I'm not going to remember this the way that we have any of Jordan's seasons. Like, I'm not going to remember it that way. If you do, then that's great. And you should be very happy because your team won a title last night. Everybody else, except Haize, probably not.
Haize, chance to respond here. Do you think that Matt Moore makes a point that the lack of maybe dominant performances from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander take away a little bit from the best season of all time argument?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand where he's rooted at that for sure. But I do think that what Shai's been able to do, not only throughout the regular season, but even in the postseason, like he has, his gravity has made it easier for players just to focus on doing their job, and the defenders that are on the OKC Thunder team. Yeah, there are times where you need Alex Caruso to step up and hit some threes for you for sure, as you're going to need every role player. But I for me personally, I still look at it, what Shai's been able to accomplish throughout the two different seasons, the regular season and the postseason, is still one of the best seasons.
And also, I don't think that of the guys you mentioned there, I'm not sure yet that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is surrounded by future Hall of Famers. Like, I think Jalen Williams made strides. I think other players made, but I'm not certain of that yet. So I think we might look back on this with a different context if the rest of that supporting cast doesn't become Scottie Pippen or Klay Thompson or on and on and on.
Was there a single game in this playoff run that you were like, Shai dragged them to this? Or did you feel like the defense got it done? Because I felt like the defense got it done. Like,
well, that's their team. That's their team identity, right? I mean,
yeah, and that's great, and that's awesome. Somebody made the comparison this morning. I think it's really interesting. Guy I follow on Twitter, Brandon, made this really interesting point. He's talking about it with his dad. This is like the best version of, like, if Iverson had a better team around him, and that comp is really fascinating to me. Like, if the Sixers defense wasn't good, if it was elite, if Eric Snow wasn't good but was awesome, right? And you had that kind of team around him, and then you had Iverson. What does that look like? And like this actually, I think, is a pretty good comp for it. I think that that's really an awesome comparison. And Iverson's respected as one of the best players of all time, but we're not going to we'd never look at Iverson as like a top 5 all time season. Like we wouldn't go that far. So I think it's okay to talk about Shai contributed so much to one of the best seasons ever, but I don't think individually it was there.
But we don't really look at this time in the NBA as like a down time for talent, right? I mean, we've got plenty of stars in this league, and then so we're going to look back on it and say he won all of these awards amongst all of that talent. I think that's going to, it's always difficult to have these conversations because you have to look at it within the season and the context that we've all been talking about all season long. But then you have to think about how we're going to look at this 5 or 10 years from now.
Yeah. But this is what sucks is everybody who was there is going to be like, oh yeah, I remember that first title, that one where Haliburton tore his Achilles in Game 7.
Okay, well that's a perfect segue into what we want to talk about next. The Tyrese Haliburton injury, apparently an Achilles injury. We will talk about that. We'll hear from Locked On Pacers on the other side of Locked On NBA. Also, Kevin Durant traded to the Houston Rockets. Pretty big deal right before the finals. We'll get into that as well. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Olipop. It's a new kind of soda made for people who love the classic taste of soda, but they want something that supports their health with just 2 to 5 grams of sugar and 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can. Olipop is reimagining soda in a way that's better for your gut. Traditional sodas are loaded with sugar, 39 grams in a regular Coke, 44 grams in an orange Fanta. Olipop flips that script completely with just a fraction of the sugar, no artificial sweeteners. They've got gut-friendly ingredients like OliSmart, which is a blend shown to support digestive and overall health. It's a soda that tastes like the real thing, but actually does something good for your body. All kinds of flavors too. Apple, grape, there's root beer, and my personal favorite, I've got it right here beside me. It's my pregame Locked On NBA drink. It's the vintage cola flavor. I can have a soda at lunch or before an episode, and instead of feeling guilty, I feel great about getting a third of my daily fiber. Get a free can of Olipop today. Just buy any 2 cans in store, and they're going to reimburse you for one. Head to drinkolipop.com. That's drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA to claim your free can and find Olipop near you. That's drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. The images of Tyrese Haliburton in pain on the floor, wrapped in a towel as he left the floor, and on crutches as he hugged teammates after the Game 7 loss were heartbreaking no matter who you cheered for. Tony East of Locked On Pacers, he isn't here for any second guessing, though, of having Haliburton play through a calf injury.
About as painful of a night as there could possibly be because of both the injury and, of course, the results of the game. I'm actually going to take what is apparently the unpopular take and stand up for Tyrese Haliburton and the Pacers here. It's a Game 7 of the finals. He should play. That is what you hope happens. You hope you have an opportunity to have that. Even if it's you think about the health of next season or the health of his career, maybe he's, and I think the favorite would be that he is not as good in the future, right? Okay, then even more chance that this is the best chance you have at a title with this core if he's not as good in the future. Right? It's one game for the title. I think that with the odds that you can win one game, he should be playing, right? So I think that is actually the right choice, despite the fact that it obviously will have massive, unbelievable consequences, of which I will talk about when I preview the offseason in several days. This is not even close to the time for that.
So, Tony, they're standing up for Tyrese's decision to play through the calf injury and for the team's decision to play Tyrese Haliburton. Haize, do you agree with him, or should the Pacers, a team that was lauded for trusting their depth, trusted it more fully and protected their stars' long-term future with the team?
Man, that's such a tough question because, at the same time, I respect Tyrese Haliburton. Like I said, when he said, if I could walk, I'm going to play, I respected that so much. But calf injuries can be a precursor to an Achilles thing going on there. But I think when you have the opportunity to play a Game 7, I don't know if the Pacers, they would have had to physically hold him out of that game. And I don't think that would even got it done. Tyrese wanted to be on that court. He wanted to try to fight for that title with his teammates. He talked about the fact that, this is what you try to fight for. You may never get here again. So I know in hindsight, because the injury did happen, a lot of people are going to say, yeah, you should have sat him. But I'm going to say this. You want to trust your players. He wanted to be out there. He wanted to play. It sucks that it ended up happening. But as a competitor, I'm always going to respect the fact that he was out there on the court.
We can't empower players and infantilize them at the same time. And this is a frustration that I have a lot. They want to these are the most competitive human beings on the planet. That's what it takes to compete and to be great at that level. He gets to make that decision. Like he has earned the right to make that decision for himself. And I feel like he was told the risks. There are times I think when teams are irresponsible. I think the Celtics with Isaiah Thomas is the worst I've ever heard of a team that was literally like, well, just let's wait on the surgery and let's see, what happens. And then it winds up literally derailing his career. I don't feel like the Pacers did that in this instance. And I think if Haliburton had said, I can't play, man, I just can't go, the team would have understood and respected it. It was his right to make that decision. And it's so brutally unfair for everybody that this is how this happened. Tyrese, the Pacers, his teammates, everybody. Like there's nothing fair about this. There's nothing okay about this. It just sucks. And honestly, I think it sucks a little bit for the Thunder because I was really looking forward to being able to give them this moment that they've earned so much without having this. But I am always if you ask me about the 2025 NBA Finals, my lasting image is going to be Tyrese on the floor, pounding his hand on the ground, screaming no. And that is awful.
Yeah, it becomes the bigger story in a weird way. That is definitely the case. And I want to talk more about the impact on how we'll view this finals coming up in a little bit. But I do want to shift gears to a player that also had some calf issues in a big series and went down to an Achilles injury, but came back and became a very effective player. That, of course, is Kevin Durant. And Kevin Durant traded to the Houston Rockets from the Phoenix Suns. And it's being received very differently in Houston and Phoenix. Let's hear from both Locked On Rockets and Locked On Suns.
6 out of the 7 members of the young core, while still adding KD to a team that just won 52 games this past season and could have been more, honestly, addressing literally the team's biggest weakness. This is the most slam dunk move of slam dunk moves.
Is this like a little shy of disaster scenario? Is that fair to say?
No, this is pretty disaster scenario. Jalen Green, I mean, we've been told since February that the Suns didn't even want him. When you're talking about the salary fillers that you could have got, you got the worst one in Dylan Brooks, I think. Probably would have rathered Andrew Wiggins over him. Definitely would have rathered Dante DiVincenzo and Rudy Gobert over him. If you're talking about the young, good asset, right? You probably got the most depreciated one. Jabari Smith, I would have taken over him. It's not just Jalen Green, the player. It's Jalen Green, the contract. He is owed $100 million over the next couple of seasons.
We did a reaction pod right off the trade on Sunday, and Matt, you went in hard on the new Suns general manager, Brian Gregory, for the return that they got back. Haize, you seem to be a little bit more forgiving considering some of the context that the Suns were dealing with at the time. After having a night to sleep on it, Matt, do you feel better or worse about the outcome for the Suns?
Feel the exact same. What a disaster. What an ungodly disaster. Oh, God, what have you done? Pray to your God, Suns fans. God, what have you done? I will say this. I want to give the Suns credit for treating a superstar of Durant's caliber with the respect that he deserves by trading him to where he wanted to go. I don't think that's always what you should do. I don't think that the Blazers should have traded Damian Lillard to Miami with what they had. But if you have a reasonable package of assets, and it is close enough to call it reasonable for what they got back. I think it is good to take care of a player like that at this point in his career and grant him where he wants to go. How do you not get any of your picks back, nor anybody except Jalen? How do you take back Jalen? You took back Haize, take it. I can't, man. I can't.
Listen, I like I said, this did not surprise me. Maybe it's just because I look at what the Miami Heat have to offer is so bad that once they were in it, I'm just like, okay, cool. Like, I don't view Dylan Brooks as, I think, especially with the Suns saying that they want to win now, Dylan Brooks is a player that does come in and help them defensively. I get it. But like for the Houston, the host of Locked On Suns, like they came into this wasn't even a week ago expecting a huge haul back. I'm sure you are disappointed by it. And when you hear moving a name like Kevin Durant, who was number 6 in the league in scoring last year on really good efficiency, all those type of things, like, yeah, you expect to get more back from this, but the market is the market. And reportedly, everybody was making deals that were around the same thing. I do think, for example, maybe the Suns had better picks that I would have probably liked a little bit more. Maybe you could have got another pick back, but this is what it is. This is the deal that they took. And yeah, I'm sure Suns felt like they didn't get enough back, especially consider what you gave up to get them. But that's the way the cookie crumbles.
So Locked On Rockets, they're obviously excited about keeping most, if not really all, of their young core to put around KD. I think both of you were high on Amen Thompson's star potential after their first-round exit. Haize, is there a danger that Kevin Durant stunts or distracts from that development? Like if he becomes the guy, the go-to guy, does that distract from Amen Thompson eventually evolving into that as well?
No, I don't think so. I think that's why, like, even if Kevin Durant does sign a extension there, they should not allow Amen Thompson to fall by the wayside here. I think if anything, it helps him. Now you don't have to have his scoring at times like they needed it at times in the playoffs. You can let Amen grow as a scorer more organically, still give him more opportunities, but you have Kevin Durant there when you need a bucket that you can default to. It also puts more highlight on what Amen can do as a passer, as a defender, all those type of things. So I'm not worried about the long-term implications here. I think they're fine. This just gives them an opportunity to compete now while you're waiting on the men to be ready to take the baton there and be the number one on that team.
It's a great situation because he's not the young guy on an old team. Sorry, Cooper Flag. And he's not the old guy on a young team. He's a young guy on a team of young guys with a veteran that will take over those situations so he can learn how to do it. Like he'll learn from KD. He'll get better as a professional. He'll continue to improve. He can work on his floor game. He can work on all of the things that make him great without having to have the defense automatically be like, all right, Amen is number 1 on the scouting report. Like Kevin Durant is number 1 on the scouting report. Alperen Sengun's number 2, which means that Amen gets to grow in that third role. And that's a really good opportunity for a player with his skill set to continue to get there. I think he's going to be an absolute superstar. I love the way that kid plays. And I think he's going to be terrific. And I think this move actually helps him more than anything. And if he has a down season, he won't wind up bearing the weight of that. It's okay. Like there's somebody else to be able to take the brunt of that. I think this is a great situation for Amen.
Coming up on Locked On NBA, we return to the NBA Finals. How confident was Locked On NBA Game Night and Locked On Pacers that the Pacers could have won Game 7 had Tyrese Haliburton not gotten injured? Plus, we just talked about the Houston Rockets doing the thing that they said they might not want to do, which is add that older player to a younger roster. We'll have more from Locked On Thunder about how Sam Presti avoided that temptation, and it resulted in an NBA championship. That's ahead on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder to yourself, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it is so easy to lose track of your funds. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center with all of your accounts, your investments, and your spending in one place so that you can go beyond just managing your money and start actually building wealth. When I started using Monarch Money, I realized just how much I was spending on streaming services. Spoiler alert, it was a lot. Now I budget smarter and I save more. And the best part is I don't have to use multiple apps. I just use Monarch to check my finances. I track my spending there, and I plan out my family's long-term goals as well. So take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Game 7, it was razor thin before Tyrese Haliburton left the game in the first half, and it really kind of stayed that way until a big third quarter run by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let's hear from Locked On Pacers and our sister show, Locked On NBA Game Night, about how much of a chance they were giving the Pacers before that injury.
The Indiana Pacers looked like they were in control of the basketball game. It was a close game, but Tyrese Haliburton had made 3 threes. They were rolling. They look confident.
I think everybody will take to their grave or feel pretty confident that Tyrese Haliburton's impact alone would have been worth some amount, if not all of those 12 points, if he was able to play even at the amount that he played in Game 6, not even if he was fully healthy.
Who knows? If Tyrese Haliburton doesn't have that devastating injury, we could be having a very different conversation right now.
All right, let's catch the train to Speculation Station. Haize, we've already heard Matt Moore allude to the what-if scenario that is going to sort of linger over this championship. Do you feel the same way? How much will this title be viewed through a what-if lens because of this injury?
I mean, it's always going to be there. You can't avoid it. It's always going to be something that is included in the story of when you tell this. Now, I do think that most people understood that the Thunder were probably favored in this series and maybe even in Game 7 as well. And while the game started off great and Tyrese Haliburton looked like he was going to absolutely tear it up, I still weight that and say, like, yeah, it sucks that Tyrese went down, and it definitely impacted the way that this Game 7 would have went down the stretch. But I still think because of the Thunder, they would have had a chance to win this game anyway. It's not like where they were completely outmatched or anything like that. So it's going to be part of the story, and it should be part of the story. And there's always going to be a what if to be told there. But I think we're being fair. We know that the Thunder were probably favored to win it anyway. I think both me and Matt picked the Thunder to win the series. So
they were good enough to win. We'll just never know is the problem. And it is okay for Thunder fans to believe that they would have won anyway. You should believe that. Your team won a championship. Don't let anybody take that away from you. Celtics faced the Cavs without Donovan Mitchell, the Heat without Jimmy Butler, and Haliburton got hurt in last year's Eastern Conference Finals too. Like, this happens. This is what happens. The NBA really is right now. It's a battle of attrition, and the team that doesn't suffer a major devastating injury winds up winning. Like, that's what a lot of this just is. And so there's nothing to take away from OKC. They could have won that game if Haliburton played. They probably would have won that game if Haliburton had played, but we'll never know. We'll never know what would have happened. Like, the speculation is the problem is, like, you're forced to speculate. You're forced to, if you are not a Thunder fan, you are forced to ask the question, man, I wonder if the Pacers would have won that game and how different NBA history would have been. And us being robbed of that as NBA fans just sucks, man.
It does. There's no doubt about that. But in a weird way, just consider, and this is going to sound weird and maybe even like a backhanded compliment to the Pacers, but I really don't mean it that way. It's just how many times I saw that team come back from ridiculous deficits and out of nowhere that, honestly, had they been down 15 before Tyrese Haliburton got hurt, I would have had more what ifs about could they come back. But just the fact that it was like a close game, even when he got injured, I still believed, I think the Thunder are still going to figure out some way. Shai's going to hit, a couple of elbow jumpers, and they're going, or get some free throws, and they're going to figure out a way to eke this thing out. But had they been down 15, I would have said, I don't know, maybe they could have done it. But
that's weird.
I know.
But I get it. I get it, though. I get what you're saying. Because even when they were down, like, the whole time, when they were, like, down 17 in the fourth, people were like, this is not over. And I was kind of like, I don't know, guys. Every team has its limit. And I'm sorry, but your team leader, the best floor shaper in the Eastern Conference, suffering an Achilles tear in front of you, that's the limit.
All right, the OKC Thunder, they did not come out of nowhere. It was a product of a lot of decisions made, and as Rylan Stiles of Locked On Thunder reminds us, a lot of decisions not made.
I can say, do what? Win one championship? That's going to be the dismissive argument? One championship in a small market is no small feat. Your realistic resources are so limited, because how many times have people put the feet to the fire of Sam Presti demanding that he goes and makes some big trade? The narratives for 2 seasons that you weren't competitive was that you're wasting Shai, was that they have all these draft picks and he's too afraid to go make a move, was that this team was going to just have to surrender all these guys for free, and they couldn't keep all their players together, and they were going to have to eventually push all in, and avoiding that temptation and instant gratification, which oftentimes blows up in your face. You look around the NBA, the teams who go make the splashy trade for a star, the teams who go overpay in free agency, they're the ones not hoisting Larry O'Brien trophies. You cannot put anyone in that job and have that happen. In fact, I think you've got the only guy in that job that could make that happen.
So, Matt, what do you think? How much of OKC's title run is one-of-a-kind general management, cannot be replicated because it's Sam Presti, and no other team in the league has a Sam Presti? And how much of it can be copied by teams across the league?
I feel confident that Sam Presti would tell you that you could do it, because what makes the Thunder great is not that Sam Presti is a genius. It's that Sam Presti cares about each and every individual aspect of the culture and the organization. Like, he wants it to be somewhere where people want to go to work. He wants it to be somewhere where people are fulfilled in their jobs. He wants it to be somewhere where the players are excited to go to the gym. He wants it to be somewhere where the players feel taken care of, where they can compete. Like, he cares about all of these processes, player development, strength training, everything. And if you care about those things and you take the process and you care about the process of doing this, then you can do this. Like, that term got so toxicified by the Philadelphia nonsense. And like, Presti didn't do that. It's different here. And that's like what you should take away is like, if you care about your organization, you do things the right way, this is what you can get to. He built redundancy after redundancy after redundancy, and he didn't need all of them, but he got enough of them to be able to get this done. In my opinion, Sam Presti is the best general manager in NBA history. I will go that far. I don't care. It's just one title. I do not care. I know how good that team is up close and personal. That is the best GM. That is the best executive in NBA history.
Wow. I mean, when you talk about replicating it, I think that you could replicate what the Thunder did in practice, right? Like of course, him moving off of Russ and moving off of Paul George and being able to stack the number of picks that they've stacked, that's going to be difficult to replicate. But in the sense of just making smart moves, knowing when to move off players, not waiting too long, drafting smart, investing in those players, those are the things that can be replicated. Those are the things that you can, but you have to have patience. You have to have vision. And not every front office either, even if they do have a vision, they may not stick to it because a year into it, they may feel like they need to do something different, or they make stupid moves trying to be the smartest person in the room, where sometimes the simplest move is the smartest one. I think what Presti has done is that he has just been able to bring it all together, and he's done it consistently over years. So, of course, his team looks stacked. Of course, his team is set and ready to go for years and years because he's just made consistently smart moves at every layer of that organization. Smart trades, knowing when to make trades for players, and bringing in Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso this year, all those type of things. They're just smart. And he is the smartest GM in basketball, and I got to give him credit for that.
All right, if you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube. All this week, we'll continue to break down this final series and talk about what's next for the Indiana Pacers and Oklahoma City Thunder as they look to replicate success next season. Thanks so much to Matt and Haize for their expertise every single day. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NBA Big Board Show. NBA draft expert Rafael Barlow reacts to every workout, interview, and rumor leading up to the NBA draft. Find Locked On NBA Big Board on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Enjoy the silly season. Be kind to each other. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA.